Tech, twice weekly, episode 34. Welcome to Tech Twice Weekly for December 22nd, 2014. This is your source for the most important technology news, stories, and discussion every Monday and Thursday evening. I'm your host, Ben White, and tonight I'm joined by my good friend, Eric Fee. Hey man, how'd the weekend treat you?
I went camping and it was rainy.
But you're happy about that.
Oh yeah, it was excellent.
Well, that's right, because we live in Portland, and if you didn't camp when it rained once in a while, you might never get to.
Pretty much.
Where'd you go?
Mount Hood Village.
Did you see snow?
No,
Aw,
lots and lots of rain.
didn't go that high in elevation.
No.
Well, I know a friend of ours, mutual friend actually, Patrick, is trying to plan a bunch of campouts for next year. So I will make sure to keep you in the loop for those, because somehow we've never gone camping together.
You and Patrick?
Well, Patrick and a bunch of people, but you and I have never camped together.
We have been camping together before. I
Well,
don't know what you're talking about.
I guess we haven't had a. I don't feel like we've had a real camping trip.
Because I always invite you and you don't go.
Okay, that's a fair statement, but that was then. This is now.
Fair enough.
Just plan the next camping trip on a weekend that I'm not already committed to doing something else, because that was the problem with the last one. Know my schedule, damn it.
You mean the last three. But whatever.
No, the one you planned at the tail end of summer.
I've done that for the past 3 years.
Well, I can't speak to the last 3 years, but I just know the last one that you invited me to.
Mm-hmm. Headlines.
Already, we'll move into the top stories. Tonight, we begin with a warning for Tor users, the Onion router. As reported by the Register, many Tor exit nodes have gone offline following an apparent raid by law enforcement authorities. According to Thomas White, a Tor exit node operator, he has recently lost control of his exit node servers. He says he received an alert that the chassis of the server was opened, and an unknown USB device was connected to the system for 30 to 60 seconds before he lost connection to the server. White is quick to point out that while this sort of intrusion is typical, excuse me, is typical of a sophisticated law enforcement attack, he has no known knowledge of what agency could have done this and wants to make sure the Tor users don't jump to any conclusions. For a list of known Tor nodes and mirrors to avoid, check out the link to this article in our show notes. What do you think about this? Are you a big Tor user?
No. But I would like to say that people who are security conscious and privacy conscious in the United States should watch out if they use Tor, because the United States government already already runs enough Tor exit nodes to gather useful information. I'm not sure who would want to steal Mr. White's exit nodes, seeing as how you can easily open them up yourself. So,
Yeah, and I think that was his big thing about the suspicion is that while the method that went down to take it offline was similar to a police raid, it didn't seem like the sort of thing that made sense for a police raid.
yeah, and usually, they kind of do what they want, and then they tell you about it, and then there's nothing you can do about it. So,
Exactly, yeah. But for the time being, if you're big on the Tor network, especially if you're roaming abroad or in countries where your privacy is very important, make sure to avoid questionable nodes. The Verge is reporting on Microsoft's corporate VP, Dean, and I'm going to butcher this last name, Hetchimovich? Sure, let's go with that. Who oversaw the development of Internet Explorer for the last 10 years, is leaving the company after 24 years. Dean. Dean said in an interview with GeekWire that Microsoft has changed a lot as a company since he began working for them in 1990, but that his decision to leave was a personal choice. When Dean joined the Internet Explorer team back in 2003, IE was the dominant browser on the landscape, but in his time on the project, IE fell from popularity, leading to Dean publicly taking the blame for a lot of IE's faults. The rapidly changing narrative of the Sony hack continues, with Recode passing along word that Sony is now looking for a partner to release the controversial movie The Interview, following theaters canceling their original scheduled screenings. Currently, Sony hasn't officially announced any specific plans on releasing the movie, but Sony spokeswoman Lauren Condolici did confirm that Sony is still exploring options for distribution. So, while you may not be able to see The Interview on its original Christmas Day release date, at this point it's clear that somehow Sony will find a way to release the film. Are you missing the Pirate Bay? In a follow-up to earlier news of the Pirate Bay being taken offline after a Swedish law enforcement raid, the isohunt.to team have released a new project dubbed the Open Bay. The Open Bay project allows anyone to host their own Pirate Bay clone simply by following a few easy steps. The isohunt team has uploaded their open-sourced version of the Pirate Bay source code to GitHub, along with making a full database dump available and some scripts to tie everything together. Keep in mind, though, that hosting your own Pirate Bay clone does come with a unique set of legal challenges, so make sure you know your local laws and the terms of service for your hosting provider before you go about this project. Ars Technica is passing along the results of a... This is the wrong story for the wrong headline. The story here... Got my wires crossed. The story here is Google has debuted their first fully functional self-driving car prototype. Google has been working on a self-driving car for a long time, and they're really the front runner in autonomous cars. And in earlier prototypes was a conventional car that was hacked together to work automatically, working through a computer system. The new car actually features its own unique design. At least this prototype. No one's sure, of course, if this is going to be the final design. One of the biggest features of the new car is a top-mounted camera, as well as a front-mounted camera and pair of headlights. The car overall is kind of funny looking. It reminds me a little of a Volkswagen Bug that's been squished. I definitely recommend checking out the link in the show notes. Right now, Google says they're going to continue working with this model through the rest of 2014, and the car should be seen on the road in Northern California in 2015. So it's possible, if Google Glass is anything as an indicator, that we maybe will see some of these in limited exposure to the public. I know if I had an opportunity, not that it's legal in Oregon, but I'd love to find a way to get behind the wheel of one of these.
That is one ugly car.
That is true. I'm not going to deny it's not the prettiest thing.
Yeah, that thing's hideous.
I'd still let it drive me around though.
You know, there's a reason why these self-driving cars and these electric cars get a bad rap because they're not made by Tesla and they're not awesome looking. Have you seen the Nissan Leaf? I saw a bunch of them. I was driving around town today. Ugh.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that. What the logic is that for whatever reason, when you get self-driving or alternate fuel technology, the car has to be ugly. Why is that a requirement?
Because it has to be future. I think it's mostly because they try and make them all futuristic and stuff, um, or they try and get some kind of feature that's hard to get with style, like really good wind tunnel, uh, really good wind tunnel results. It's just like, yes, well, people have been shown to completely disregard everything about a vehicle besides how it looks. Therefore, try your best to make it look awesome.
Right? Because I guess there's something to be said to that. People buy with their eyes.
Yeah, well, whatever.
All right. Well, let's see here. What's our next story?
More Google.
Yeah, definitely more Google in today's news. If you're a fan of Google's personal assistant and own a Chromebook, then you're in luck. Gizmodo passes along Google's announcement they'll be rolling out the OK Google personal assistant to their Chromebooks. To get access to the feature early, you'll need to switch your Chromebook over to the dev channel, but it's expected this feature will eventually be pushed out to the main release soon. Did you have a Chromebook? Would you use this feature?
Probably not. I don't see why. I don't know. I mean, I give it a chance. I don't really use it that much on my phone either. Mostly with my phone, I'll use it if I'm driving because I want to, usually it's just telling it navigate to home because I'm somewhere I don't know. I'm driving and I can't work my phone, so I need to, start doing Google Magic. But other than that, I'm not really that big on the Google Voice stuff.
All right, well, at this point, I'm going to take an unprecedented break in the show because my dog just vomited on the floor. Awesome.
Fix it in post.
Yep.
All right, so I'll tell anyone who's watching the YouTube thing because we can't edit that. So if you're stupid Benji's dog, if you're watching the YouTube thing, so for my weekend, I didn't go to work today. I took the day off. Yesterday afternoon, packed up my car. Actually, it's not a car; it's a Jeep. Packed up my Jeep with my camping supplies, which are actually mostly in a box already, so I kind of just could stick it in there. Um, got my buddy Richard, and we drove up to.
Eric, I'm going to take an unprecedented break in the show because the dog just puked on the floor.
Yeah, we drove up to Mount Hood Village, which is kind of like a resort slash camping site. It has lots of camping stuff in there. Um, so we took one of the tent sites, and there was no one else in tents. Um, we got there, set everything up, figured out we were in the wrong camping spot, so we packed everything back into the Jeep, drove to the right camping spot, unpacked, got the tent up, got most of our stuff out, um, and then we started our first fire, um, and then we went over to Mount Hood Village, which has like a fitness room and hot tubs and saunas and stuff. And we got in the hot tub for a while, which was really nice because it was cold. We packed up. We also got showered down and put our waterproof stuff back on. It kind of chilled for a while. We got a nice fire going that night, and
Say we're gonna take an unprecedented break because the dog puked.
had a nice, nice little dinner. We had like hot dogs or something. Yep. Sausages. Can't remember. Yeah, we kind of just hung out. It was kind of, pretty basic camping.
That's not a trash bag.
There's something in apparently.
So we could stay. We stayed relatively dry in our person, even getting rain out all night. Like the tent let some water through, but it wasn't bad. Just a little bit of moisture and a little bit of water. Yeah, it was great. I would love to go again. The only problem is I don't really want to do a lot of trekking through snow and super bad uh, weather just to get to a camp spot. So may not do too many trips out this winter, but we're planning on buying a gazebo to make being out in the wet a little bit easier. And this summer we're planning to do lots of camping trips while it's nice out. Because about a half hour out of town where we are, we can get to some decent campgrounds. There's a ton of them. Oregon's huge amount of national forest, and you can just kind of you can pick any direction you want, and you'll find campgrounds on your way. And a lot of them are really inexpensive, and some of them don't have any people there. Mount Hood Village usually has a ton. Weather is so bad that there's nobody out there. Hey, so I was talking to the viewers about the camping trip.
Awesome. I saw you talking.
Yeah, well, we can't edit the YouTube stream, so I figured I might as well have this lapse where you're running around in circles.
I can edit the YouTube stream to some effect, but
Oh, well, there's that.
it's not great.
Whatever.
Special bonus cut edition with extra footage.
Yeah.
All right, so that was exciting.
Yep. On the next headline. We talked about Google and then Google again.
Yes. In yet another round of credit card hacks, the office supply chain Staples became the latest to fall. According to a statement the company released last Friday, the attack appears to have compromised nearly 1.16 million credit cards used for payments between August 10th and September 16th of this year in 115 of their stores. It appears the stores were affected by malware, allowing cardholder names and payment information to be stolen. As per usual, Staples is offering free identity protection as well as credit reports for anyone who fell victim.
They fell
CNET.
victim. They need their
What's
own,
that?
as I say, they fell victim. They need their own identity theft. They need actual people to monitor those damn computers. I'm just so sick and tired of watching, basic POS systems being completely decimated by, some dude or some couple of people who are determined to get all this information. It's like, no, stop that. I don't see why they're not getting fined into oblivion, but whatever.
Well, they may too. We'll see, because right now Target is in the process of getting fined, or just recently got done being fined. So they're going to set the precedent for how this gets handled.
Well, it needs to be handled pretty good so that it's in their best interest to keep their POS point of sale systems locked down.
Do you shop at Staples? Because the first thought I had when I saw this was, I can't remember the last time I went to an office supply store.
I've shopped at office supply stores, just not Staples, because I don't even know where there is one around here.
Yeah. CNET is reporting on BitInstance CEO Charlie Shrem being sentenced to 2 years in prison in connection to laundering money through the questionable online marketplace known as Silk Road. Shrem pled guilty to one count of aiding and abetting an unlicensed money transmission last September in a plea deal made with the U.S. government. Shrem asked the judge to be released with no time served to allow him to change the world by showing he had learned from his mistakes, but this request was denied. Is that even a surprise?
You should have claimed affluenza.
But I mean, you commit a crime and you request the judge, hey, I just want to make the world a better place. Can you just let me go?
Sounds like a huge asshole to me.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Like, who? God, that is, man. Just one. Just imagine. Some guy gets caught for petty theft or something. Stealing a candy bar or some crap. Can I just be let go because I want to make the world a better place? People, no. Stop
If you
that,
wanted to make the world a better place, why did you break the law in the first place?
asshole.
PC Gamer shares the news of Marcus Pearson, better known as Notch, having found something to spend a little of his Microsoft money, Minecraft money, both on. Notch has just completed the purchase of a $70 million mega mansion in Beverly Hills, California. The house includes a candy room, which I don't even know what that is, a car showroom, vodka and tequila bars, a 54-inch curved glass door that opens into a pool, 8 bedrooms, 15 bathrooms, apartment-sized closets, and a private movie theater. If that wasn't crazy enough, to buy the house, Notch had to outbid pop music celebrities Beyonce and Jay-Z, making the sale the highest price paid for a house in the Beverly Hills, according to Notch's representatives. I think this is just insane. The pictures in the article show that it's a beautiful house, but I can't even imagine spending that kind of money.
Who says money doesn't change people?
What do you think, though? I mean, is this outlandish, or does it make sense to spend that kind of money on a house?
It's extreme. And I'm just glad that all those purchased copies of Minecraft could go to buy him a damn candy room. What is a candy room? I just call that my kitchen.
That's it. We're gonna ask Google here. What is a candy room?
I want a car showroom. I didn't even know Notch liked cars.
Well, when you're given $2 billion, you find a lot of things that you start to like.
Like candy rooms and car showrooms and Beverly Hills apparently.
Right? I think that's what caught me off guard the most. I would picture Notch moving into a mansion in like the Portland hillside, like other crazy rich celebrity technology people. Who am I thinking of?
Linus Torvalds who you're thinking of.
Well, Linus Torvald, but I don't think of him as crazy. I was
He's
actually
definitely crazy.
I was actually thinking more of the antivirus guy.
Okay. The antivirus guy.
Yes. What is his name? He was.
I,
His,
I'm more concerned about what a candy room is.
answers. That's the crazy guy I was thinking of.
Oh, with his
In
sock malware?
Well, it was antivirus while he was in charge of the company before he sold it. I really want to get to the bottom of what a candy room is. But,
Move on
oh,
to the
here we
next
go.
headline,
Oh,
man.
I found
There's no winning.
on the much acclaimed website popsugar.com of Nick Cannon Candy Room. It is exactly what you'd think it is. This is a room filled with candy.
Oh God, the calories. Uh-oh.
So, yeah, at least Nick Cannon's candy room is filled with all sorts of Wonka candies.
Wow.
I just put those in the pantry.
that's something. He has a Nerds T-shirt on. What?
In other news on Pop Sugar, Seth Rogen confesses he's in a relationship with a man. All the things I didn't care about knowing.
Yeah.
Well, now that this episode's taken a few twists and turns, let's get to our last story in the headlines.
Good God.
All right, well, to bring things back to technology, showing no sign of giving up the fight, Nintendo's video game designer and producer Shigeru Miyamoto, I'm horrible at pronouncing names, has hinted that a new console is in the works during an interview with the Associated Press. He also made it clear that that doesn't mean Nintendo is done with the Wii U either, and that Nintendo has plans to focus on the Wii U's lineup during 2015. So let the rumor mill start. But during 2015, I expect we'll hear about a new console. Personally, though, I'm kind of expecting it to be a handheld rather than necessarily a traditional console. And that's the end of our headlines, finally. All right. Well, getting into our tech toys you wish you could buy, the first one we've got is pretty interesting, I think, anyway. It is the PanTelligent. It is a smartphone enabled fry pan. Basically, the fry pan works just like any traditional non-stick fry pan, except it's paired over Bluetooth. I believe over Bluetooth. I'm not sure it actually says that, but that's the only thing that would make sense, I think, to read the temperature that the pan is cooking at. So it has a built-in thermometer to help you gauge how long to cook things, when to turn food. It's going to make eggs over easy, really easy, because it's also going to tell you based on what you're cooking, what temperature you need to cook something up to. I know you were taking a look at this earlier. Right now, they've got the app out only for the iPhone, but there is plans, I'd assume, for an Android release down the road. What do you think? Would you be interested in this product?
I think it's pretty cool. I don't know if I'd be interested in it because I don't really need that, but I think it's really cool. I'll tell you one thing I was thinking about when I was watching it. I have a soldering iron that I can set to a temperature. It's pretty sweet because there's a little dial on there, and a little display for the temperature in Fahrenheit as a tip. I can just crank it up to what I want, and it's really useful because I can get it right to the perfect temperature, and it just stays there. Um, and I always thought, why can't I get that in a burner, like in an electric range?
I suppose you could. I know some of the higher end ones have digital displays for temperature instead of just your doesn't mean anything low, medium, and high.
Yeah, I guess that's a expensive option that already exists, and I just don't have it because I have crappy electric ranges. But still, I think that would be really helpful because that would also give you the temperature gauge just as much as the frying pan would.
Right, because at the end of the day, that's the big key is that it's very difficult to tell what temperature a pan is.
Well, I have a infrared thingamajigger too.
That would help. I think that's definitely a step in the right direction, and that's good for steaks and whatnot. But
Yeah,
you really could put it anything.
yeah, I use it for you know cars. Um, yeah, it's an interesting little thing. I like the idea, and I think it's going to make some people very happy. Um, and the price is not that bad.
No, I mean right now on Kickstarter, they're asking $200 for the early backers. There's 1,000 of the early backers who can get in. Once that happens, they're going up to the retail price, which is going to be $250, which is a little expensive for just a standard fry pan, but for I guess for the added temperature features and for if it's well made, a long lasting fry pan, $250 isn't that bad.
And just to mention, the app has step-by-step guides on how to cook certain, but many recipes. So you'll go to the store. The app will help you pick out what you need to buy. You'll take it home, and then you will heat the pan up, and it will tell you at which stages and how long to do certain parts of the recipe. So it's a very granular, easy to read, easy to understand recipe that tells you how to basically cook a bunch of stuff. They were in the video for the Kickstarter. They were making seared scallops, which was pretty cool because the guy was basically just following the recipe that he made some pretty good looking chow.
I think that's good because we need more people cooking. I think overall, especially as a society, we eat out too much and we eat garbage too often. I know I'm certainly included in that statistic. But you, on the other hand, you actually cook a fair amount, as far as I understand.
Mm-hmm. I just cooking out on the campsite earlier today,
When did you get back? Just this morning?
around 1 o'clock.
Oh goodness. All right. Well, neither of us are probably going to back this, I think, right?
Nah, but I think it's cool. I think it's worth backing. I think it's a very interesting device, and I think that it may help a lot of people cook.
I could
It's
s-
nice.
I could see a really useful implementation of this as a college gift. You're sending your kid away with one fry pan, a hot plate, and a wing and a prayer to college,
And the mountain of debt they just accrued from financial aid on the way.
right? But I could see this being a great tool for dorm room cooking,
That actually would be pretty nice because it would you could make fairly sophisticated dishes on it pretty perfectly.
right?
That is until your roommate borrows it and sticks it in the oven to bake something and then it's toasted.
That's a good question that I don't see mentioned here. What the top temperature this will support before just totally breaking.
Yeah, who knows? That's what cast iron's for, anyways.
Right, fair enough. Well, the next gadget we have here is the 101 Touch. It's a new generation of keyboard, as they describe it. And really, what this is a LCD display that is a keyboard. It's a touchscreen in the shape of a keyboard, a big long rectangle, and instead of displaying imagery like a traditional monitor, it has a keyboard image. And then that image can be changed or customized to whatever you want it to be. And then program in certain areas to be recognized as keys. Now, of course, this means you don't have any tactile feedback. It's one solid, smooth, sleek piece of glass slash plastic, much like typing on an iPad or a smartphone or something like that. I know you're really big on tactile keys, but then you also run an Nexus 5, which really surprised me when you picked it up because I know how much you like tactical keyboards on your phones.
Yeah, that's because there aren't any good phones with them. I would love to have a phone with a keyboard still because make the most ridiculous uh, word combinations with swipe somehow. So, but yeah, I don't. If I had a choice, I would have a phone with a physical keyboard. They just don't make them anymore.
So, with that said, you have no interest in this product.
Absolutely none.
You can't see just laying an iPad in front of you and typing on that.
I would stop typing at that point. That would be the end.
I do have to say, some of the skins they show on the Kickstarter page are pretty clever. One of them is a LCARS interface, and
Uh,
it's only the 100,000th LCAR iteration.
yeah, that interface is good for one thing: television.
Well, at this point, it's broken down almost more to be a color scheme than anything else. I think there's
Yeah.
some relevant applications for this. I'm not sure. Even myself, who's a fan of touchscreen keyboards, though, I'd have a really hard time transitioning to this. But there's some applications that make sense. They talk about how you can have half the screen be one thing and half the screen be something else. So maybe you're working in Photoshop and you have buttons for all your quick shortcuts or something like that. I could see this being an accessory to a keyboard, but I don't think I could replace a keyboard with it.
Well, before the Optimus keyboard came out from Art Lebedev, I think is the name of the company.
Hmm.
They've had a concept of a touchscreen keyboard for like over 10 years, and it's had keys and symbols and pictures and other stuff on it that it's just like what they're making in this Kickstarter, effectively, except it doesn't look as cool because it's not concept art. But yeah, I mean that's before the Maximus or whatever even came out, which is the keyboard that has changing symbols on the keys,
Right.
um, which is great. But I don't know. I just think that the on-screen keyboards are kind of bad enough as it is, but trying to do that at home would just kill me. And that would be impossible to use at work. Um, I use an ergonomic keyboard at work, and without it, it would not be good. Um, there is a lot of interesting soft keyboard technology out there. There's a keyboard that's been in development. I don't know if it ever came out, but it was a keyboard for blind people,
Hmm.
and it used I can't remember what it used on the phone, but it could figure out where your hand was above the phone, and then center the keyboard under your hand. So you could just
Oh,
kind of
interesting.
put your hand near the phone and start typing, and the letters would come out based on where your hand was, not based on where your fingers touched. So it was a really cool idea. I mean, there's lots of room for that, but I really think that you can. I don't see the benefit of this kind of keyboard for accuracy, for comfort, for uh, data input. Just don't. I just don't think we've figured out what's better than a mouse and keyboard at this point.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, like I said, I could see some applications for this. Maybe if it was wireless and pairing it with a media center, perhaps. Then you could change the UI to be something to correspond to whatever you're doing on the screen. But I see this being something that has application to specific scenarios rather than generic all around, this is your now daily driver keyboard.
Yeah, and I think the resurgence of mechanical keyboards is also shows that we are trying for we're trying for a better experience with what we have. I think that the way that desktops work, the way that computers are functioning at this point in time, that a keyboard and mouse is our best bet. That may change someday when computer inputs and computer configurations change. We've seen that already that with tablets where mice are useless because the whole thing is completely touch based. So having a mouse for a tablet would be useless. But having a keyboard for a tablet would not be. There are a lot of good keyboards that are coming out now that are supposed to be working well with tablets for text entry. Typing in little stuff, yeah, you can do that with the on-screen keyboard. But if you actually want to lay down some words, man, you, you just can't do that on the on-screen like you could with the physical keyboard.
Well, and with that, I guess I should say I didn't go over the numbers. The PanTelligent is currently sitting at 357 backers at over double their goal. They're looking for $30,000. They're just over $60,000. So it's definitely happening. If you're interested, you can still get in on one, like we said, for $200. There's 14 days left on that. And for the 101 Touch keyboard, that is also, let's see, I guess still in the progress of getting funded. It's got 497 backers. It's out of the UK, so they're looking for £180,000. They're at £66,999 at the moment. So they've got 18 days left, plenty of time to get the extra money in. And I said they're out of the UK. I take that back. They're out of the Czech Republic, actually. But if you're interested in that project, you can jump on. Kickstarter's great about getting your money converted for your backing. Don't worry about that. Do keep in mind that for some projects you may need to pay for extra shipping. Our last product is one that I picked specifically thinking of you, Eric, is the motorized wiper for your motorcycle helmet. You basically strap this device onto the top of the visor for your motorcycle helmet, which apparently one size fits all. I don't know. I thought motorcycle visors were a little more unique than that sometimes. But the concept is it's a windshield wiper for your motorcycle helmet visor. And not only does it have a squeegee that'll wipe the rain off your visor, but it has controls either on the device itself, or you can pair it to wireless controls controlling the speed, the delay, or just running a single wipe. What do you think about this?
I've ridden in the rain plenty, and I never really had a problem with water on the visor. Water was only really a problem on the visor when it's dirty as heck, not when it's just water on there. And at speeds when you have to worry about getting water the most, by turning your head slightly, well, you can still look forward while turning your head slightly. The water will just run off from the wind. The only time, I guess, kind of. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit. I'm breaking up a little bit. The water on the visor at low speeds can be a little bit annoying, but I guess that's what the back of my gloves for. So, also they do make a little squeegee that you can glue or whatever onto your thumb or your gloves. You can wipe your visor too. It's a little bit more mechanical. There's not any real fancy electronics, but it also is like $5. So, yeah, I think this is something that I wouldn't really be interested in. Some people maybe. I have a nice helmet, and my visor is doesn't fog up on the inside, and the water runs off easily on the outside as long as it's clean. So, I don't know. Maybe some people who commute with a motorcycle all year round might want something like that, and it might be worth whatever the price is for it. But for me personally,
Yeah, see, right now they're asking $129 to get in on one right now, but the retail price is going to come in at $169. So $170 to pick up one of these retail once the initial funding campaign is over. So you're saying just not worth it?
Yeah, I'm not really down with that. They're also asking me a lot of money, but they supposedly have some pretty high tech stuff in here, so maybe
And
necessary.
the part that surprised me, though, is that something like this could be made as a one size fits all. Are helmet visors really all that standardized?
No, but they're all similar enough where it probably would fit. Um, the only thing I'm concerned about is less the size and more the shape. Some helmets don't have same. Some helmet visors have a little bit different shape to them, but they might have it figured out. I don't know.
And I suppose there's always the difference between stylized helmets and a quote unquote standardized helmet.
Well, I don't know. Every helmet, every big helmet manufacturer has their own shapes and styles to them, and usually things are pretty similar within those families. But outside the families, they can get pretty different. And some helmets have completely different shapes. And I'd also be worried if this device would work with the modular helmets. Modular helmets are becoming more popular for commuters and stuff because of the convenience.
Modular, what are the modules in a helmet like that?
Okay, so they're basically two types of full face helmets. One piece shells like I have, which like the visor snaps in and closes over the eyes, but the mouth, the lower part, and the back of the shell are all one piece. The difference is a modular helmet will have a visor that pops up, but it will also have the chin section will pop up too. So the whole front of the helmet will like flip up.
Oh, interesting.
And they're pretty convenient. A lot of people like them. I don't like them because they're heavier and they let a lot more road noise in, but they're becoming they're becoming pretty popular, and they're getting a lot of really cool features in them now. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not sure if I'd make sure that my it supports a modular helmet and all that stuff too before I would pick it up.
Especially for that price tag.
Well, $169 is not a lot when you consider what motorcycle gear costs. Motorcycle gear gets obscenely expensive very quickly.
Well, and I can understand for safety gear, but this is more just an accessory than anything else.
Well, motorcycle gear, if you wear, head to toe motorcycle gear, you can get stuff that's less expensive, but will still protect you in the event of a crash. A lot of times, what more expensive motorcycle gear really costs is because it's either more comfortable or has better style or is made for really high speed crashing, sliding, impact type stuff.
Well, there's that. If you want to get on this, if this sounds like something that's going to make your ride better, easier, you can jump over to IndyGogo. We'll have the link in our show notes, of course. And like I said, right now they've got a sale going on, $129 to get in on one of these, so you can save yourself a little bit of money if you like the idea. Um, they do. They are a flexible funding campaign, which does mean they will receive all money donated, regardless if they hit their goal, which right now is 275,000. The campaign just started really recently, so on the 19th of December. So right now they've only got $348 raised, but there's a lot of promise behind this project, and definitely a long time for them to get their money in and get their marketing in. So keep an eye on it if it's something that piques your interest, and get your money in. Help support the cause if you think this is something worth getting developed. All right, and that takes us into our discussion section tonight. I've got two stories here, and I didn't know if one or both of them would be something to catch your interest. The first story we've got is about Elon Musk and more talk about his Hyperloop. This is a mode of transportation that allows rapid transportation from one location to another, riding inside a tube, basically. They call it the Hyperloop, and you would ride in a cartridge inside this tube from one location to another, could be hundreds of miles away. And their example is you can go from Los Angeles to San Francisco in less than 30 minutes. The other topic we have here is from Ars Technica, and it is a story out of Chicago where a study by the newspaper there discovered that red light cameras are actually causing more rear end injuries than actually helping. The side impact or T collisions are reduced by red light cameras, but rear end accidents are happening more often. What do you think? Either of those worth discussion?
The Hyperloop stuff is not that interesting to me. It's been talked about a lot, and it sounds a lot like, New York pneumatic transit. The the red light camera thing is pretty interesting, though, I think. And it's very interesting to me because I am I love to drive. And I drive a bunch, and I do a lot of city driving around town, that kind of stuff. And I find that a lot of times some of these cameras are less about making places safer and more about um, making money. And they're never built that way. They're always built as, well, this will make things safer. But as it has shown, as it does reduce some, it had a small reduction in T-bones, but there's like a 22% increase in rear ends. Now I don't want to sit here from my chair and just say, well, obviously they're worse. I can't tell you, with reason why a red light camera would be good or bad. But what I can tell you is, it seems to me like the Chicago area, people who are driving there, are obviously not used to red light cameras. Otherwise, they would be being prepared to stop. And the street design may or may not be conducive to good, stops and good falling distance and good turning habits. Because what influences traffic more than anything is how the streets are designed. Now, I come from Portland, Oregon, which is like king of crappy designed roadways. I-84, during its inception, when I-5 North and South bleed into it, has like 3 or 4 on-ramps before the first off-ramp. One on-ramp is right in the beginning, which slows it down really badly. There are like arbitrary exit-only lanes placed in places. There are like weird there's like weird on and off ramp dichotomy, and the off ramps are all like designed weirdly. You can't just get off the damn highway. You gotta go like over this bridge and down into this thing, and then you're exit at this crappy street that you can't ever take a left on. It's just like the highway here is just a completely insane, and you can see what is really a small amount of vehicles on the road going at 3 miles an hour all the time, because if you're on that road, you are kind of just screwed. And I can't blame a driver for getting on at an on-ramp, but I can blame the city for putting the on-ramp there, because why would you do that?
Sure.
Now, I don't know how bad Chicago is. Someone else will have to know that. But we'll say that this all boils down to street design. Now, if you have a short distance between lights and lights that aren't synchronized properly, people are trying to get through them. And when you have a light set up so much that if a couple speeders can make it before the yellow, but then everyone else is behind them is going, I want to make it, I want to make it, I want to make it, then it turns yellow. And the people who are from the city are like, all right, if I don't stop, I'm going to get a ticket, and that's going to suck. So they get on their brakes, but the person behind them either isn't watching, isn't paying attention, is on their cell phone, is eating, kids in the car, they're not from the area, they are from the area and want this guy to run the yellow anyways. And they're not properly, watching what's going on, boom, rear end. And not only that, but of course, people who don't have their cars maintained may not have the brakes to do it. They
Mm-hmm.
could be overriding their car's potential to stop, which I saw today. Some dude in a small pickup had wasted shocks, thing bouncing around like a damn pogo stick, and his front driver's side tire was almost flat. And he took a right turn at the same time I did, at about 30 miles an hour. It's like a easy right, and I was following him going the exact same speed, and he slid into the other side of the street. But I stayed where I was going because the Jeep's got great brakes, tires are brand new, the suspension all works for what it is. It's a Jeep, live front and rear axle, whatever. Anyways,
Another story for another day.
yeah, exactly. I was able to make the turn easily without even like breaking the sweep. This guy, if there was a car on oncoming, he would have hit him, or God forbid, a person or a bicyclist, he would have creamed him. And he was completely overdriving his vehicle and had the potential to cause a horrific accident.
And so did he just lose traction while making the corner?
Yeah, he just slid and then slowed down. So of course, while I was going around the corner, I just fucking slowed down, which is dangerous because when you're cornering, you're kind of placing a lot of traction on your front end and on the outside of the vehicle. If you try and brake, you can break that traction. So it's dangerous to brake in a corner. Always, but more so in corners that are sharper, of course, or you're traveling at a high rate of speed. And so braking there, I was of course prepared because I already saw his tire was flat and knew he was going to, knew what was going to happen. But seeing that, it's just like that guy is just another example of someone whose car is in disrepair and they're overdriving its capabilities, which is extremely dangerous because a lot of times people are doing it and they don't even know they're doing it.
Right.
Like if you go, I need a brake job, they're squealing and this and that and this and that, but then you're still driving like a maniac. It's like, well, that's not good. You shouldn't do that. You should drive slower. You should give your brakes more time to work. You should give yourself more room when you need it, which I was doing before I replaced the brakes in the Jeep because they were not very good. In fact, I figured out why. One of the bolts holding the driver's side caliper was loose. Anyways, my whole point is I can't really say a lot from this article because it shows a few facts, but not enough to come to a conclusion. But I will say that whatever is causing those rear ends to go up, that's not good. And a lot of us think, well, low speed rear ends, not the biggest deal. Yeah, except I also ride a motorcycle, so rear ends are really, really scary.
Yeah, the idea of rear-ending a motorcycle, that's bad.
That often kills the motorcyclist, unfortunately.
Yeah, especially if in a big car like some of those SUVs or some of those trucks, you will go over the top of the motorcycle.
Yeah, it's actually pretty kind of horrifying.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, at least if you're turning left through most intersections and you're getting T-boned on the right, it's bad, but it's not that bad. But
Bad for
getting
your passenger.
rear-ended? Hmm?
It's bad for your passenger.
Yeah. I mean, overall, though, the point is these red light cameras, like you said, are always put in under the guise they're going to make an intersection safer. And I think this article and the study that the Chicago Tribune commissioned definitely shows that that might not always be true. That sometimes these cameras are put in for the sole purpose of generating revenue. There are places where people are known to perhaps skip through an intersection, even if they're doing it safely most of the time.
Yeah, you know, that's how my Volkswagen Jetta got totaled. I got rear-ended. I was coming up to a right turn in a right turn only lane, and I stopped because a pedestrian was crossing at a pedestrian crosswalk when they had the crosswalk sign. So like they were totally the pedestrian was totally doing what they're supposed to do: wait for the crosswalk sign and then go. I was coming up to the crosswalk, and I saw the person, but they hadn't started walking yet. But then they turned and started walking, and so I came to a stop, and I had to come to a stop somewhat abruptly, and that is what you have to do sometimes. Um, if I hadn't, I would have run over this person, so I'm really glad that I did. But the person behind me just wasn't paying attention, and then they didn't stop. They just drove into me, and that just rear ends are the reason why rear ends happen all the time is because they're really easy. You're going in a direction, and all you have to do is not stop, not slow down. And seeing it happen because of red light cameras does not surprise me at all.
Hmm.
In fact, I'm sure I've thought of that at some point already, anyways. And the fact that these things are brought in and billed to be, well, they're going to make everything safer. Well, actually, they're really not. And rear ends can still hurt the driver. Although, I'd rather be rear-ended than T-bone, that's for sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, at least sometimes rear end accidents are happening while someone's at least attempting to stop. Whereas T-bones, I think more often than not, tend to happen with somebody slamming into you at force, at speed.
Yeah. I don't know what the rate was at which T-bones were reduced, but I will say that either way, I think that better management of the street and by making areas easy to traverse, yet also with a high enough average speed that people are getting through, but a low enough top speed and the capability to stop is important. There's lots of places in Portland that are like that where uh, you the average speed is pretty high, even though the top speed is not very high, like 25 or 30. It's like 30 miles an hour, but people are still making it through. Whereas many other places, the speed limit is 35 or 40, and very little people are getting through. The average speed is very low. So I mean, I think it's all about street design.
Yeah, and I was reading through the article here. According to their study, adding red light cameras to intersections, at least in Chicago, reduced, reduced T-bones by 15%, but increased rear end injury collisions by 22%,
Rear end
resulting,
injury.
yes, injury, resulting in a 5% increase in the total number of injury crashes overall.
Yeah, see, they use the word percent, and I'm wondering out of how many. If they lowered them by 15% from 100 to 85, but they increased rear ends from 1,000 to 1,220. Obviously we're looking at a much different number of, we're seeing a significantly higher number of accidents.
Right, right.
So I
And
mean,
it's pretty obvious this article's written in a way that's kind of skewed anti-red light camera. Whether or not the facts necessarily support that 100% isn't clear because they don't give us all the evidence.
I'm definitely anti-red light camera, but I'm not pro running lights.
Right. And I think that's the key is that the light itself is supposed to be enough to control an intersection.
Well, what are you gonna do? Um, I, yeah, I'm not sure what to say to that, but I don't think that. Yeah, I'm anti-red light cameras, but I really wish people would just stop. Here in Oregon, it's illegal to run a yellow, so yellow really does mean stop. And I'm pretty sure that's like that in most places. So you should just stop the car. I mean, just don't be in even if you're in a rush, don't getting in an accident will make you way later than arriving there safely.
Definitely. And I think that's the real takeaway here is just slow down a little. There's no reason to necessarily blow through to the red light or the yellow light just if you're going, especially if it means you're going to wreck.
Yeah, I don't care if people drive fast. I just care if people drive smart.
Right. And the two are not exclusive. You can drive quickly and safely.
Indeed. And that, I mean, one of the biggest problems with rear ends is people overdriving their cars or following too close. And it's just like those are both not easy. Those are both easy fixes.
Well, and as a discussion for another day, I think there's a general issue in society where people, young people especially, but now young people are getting older, don't understand how their cars work, what their cars are capable of or incapable of, and because of that, they make very poor driving decisions.
Indeed.
I mean, it's so easy to plop 16-year-old Nicole behind the wheel, push this pedal to go, push this pedal to stop. Okay, here's your license.
Yeah, I was actually a little bit appalled how easy it was to get a driver's license when I got mine. I had easily less than 20 hours behind the wheel.
Right?
I don't even know what to say about that.
Like I said, a discussion for another day, but definitely maybe the focus should be more there than on the red light cameras themselves. Start further back in the chain.
Indeed.
All right. Well, we've gone on quite a while here, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up for tonight. Scheduling note, it is Christmas this week. There will not be a show on Thursday. I'll be spending Christmas Day with my family. You got any good Christmas plans?
No, I'll be at my dad's.
Eh, better than sitting home alone in a cold house.
Not really.
Well, it's family. It's the holidays. You have to suffer with them.
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, we will be back next Monday, right? Yes, the 29th. We'll be back on Monday. No show again the following Thursday. It'll be New Year's Day. I plan to not be doing much of anything New Year's Day. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you for hanging out with us. Please, if you haven't, subscribe to the show, techtwiceweekly.com. We've got links to our RSS feed up there. We're on Stitcher. We're on Blueberry. We're in iTunes, wherever fine podcasts are found. You can also hit us on Twitter at TechTwiceWeekly or on Facebook. Facebook.com/TechTwiceWeekly, I believe, is the URL. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later.